Hello and welcome to another stream with me, Troy Francis. You find me here sitting in my abode in London. It's going to be a short one today, guys, because I've got to go out for a medical checkup in just a little while. No, not for coronavirus, I hope, but I do have to go and see, just go for a general sort of like checkup. So I'm going to be doing that very soon. But I wanted to put this up and I thought, shall I record this as a video or shall I go live? And I thought, well, look, I'll go live, but obviously going to leave it up as a video because I want to address the topic of, is game enough? Is knowing dating dynamics enough? And the reason for this is because a gentleman, excuse me, a gentleman by the name of Jay Silvera, hello Jay, if you're watching this, I hope you get to see this, said, when I was saying on a previous video, come forward with any sort of like topics you want me to discuss, all of that kind of thing. He came forward with this and he goes, you said that day game wasn't enough anymore to differentiate yourself with your SMV. So SMV, he means sexual market value, for anybody who doesn't know that acronym. Can you recommend some ways to set yourself apart from other guys? Well, yes, I absolutely can. But firstly, I wanted to just to clarify one particular point regarding this. Which is that I didn't actually say day game, because he puts DG here. I didn't actually say that day game wasn't enough anymore to differentiate yourself with your SMV. I did a podcast a little while back where I talked about how game itself is kind of no longer enough in this globalized dating marketplace that we now find ourselves in. And yes, sure, I'm splitting hairs a little bit here because obviously day game comes within that. But I just wanted to make it clear I wasn't having a pop at day game specifically, which I still think is an amazing skill that guys really should try to learn. It was more just sort of game generally. And by the way, by game, what I'm talking about here is the study of human interactions. That is the study of how men and women, and you can take it further than that, but men and women interact within society, and the most sort of efficient ways for them to come together in a romantic sense. So that's what I'm talking about here when I use the word game, which is kind of a shorthand for all of that stuff, really. I mean, game has had a bit of a bad rap over the years. And some of that's probably justified, to be fair, but I'm not talking about it in a manipulative sense particularly. I'm talking about it more just in terms of, look, this is how human beings get together. If you want to optimize that process, what do you need to, what do you need to know? What things do you need to learn? That's certainly what this channel is all about, and that's what my work, if you want to aggrandize it with that term, has been about. So yeah, anyway, that's what we mean by game. He's saying, I'm saying it's not enough. And I did say that. I made a podcast where I basically said, look, game is no longer enough. But let's just recap on that a little bit. Because what I want to make very clear is that in no sense am I saying or suggesting that you shouldn't learn about dating dynamics. In my view, it's more essential than ever today in 2020, as we're coming into the spring, that guys and women, but guys, because I'm primarily talking to guys here, should learn about dating dynamics, should learn about the way that things go down between the sexes. Why? Because, as I said at the beginning of another video that's up on this channel about the dating marketplace, it's never been as hard as it is now, but it's also never going to be as easy as it is now. Game, but it is complicated. The dating scene, the dating marketplace is complicated. Why is that? Well, because of all of these massive changes that we've seen over the last 10, 15 years. The uptick in the use of the dating apps, for example. I mean, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, whatever else people are using. Those things weren't even around 10, 15 years ago. Now they dominate the game. We also have Instagram and maybe TikTok and things. I don't know if it's going down that route, but we have these platforms whereby people could appear on the platform and they can gain an international audience immediately, a bit like what I'm doing now. But obviously, girls can do it, and they're then going to get approached by sometimes very high value dudes from anywhere else on the planet. and that's really what I was getting at with this, because I've for a long time, since Rollo Tomassi wrote that essay about the globalized sexual marketplace, which I think came out back in 2019 at some point, I've been fascinated with this idea because, of course, he's absolutely right. The dating market is now no longer localized, right? So if you are a very attractive girl and you're living in Siberia in a village, then whereas, decades ago, maybe the only opportunity for a partner you would have would be from some other dude living in that same village. Now it's completely the opposite. Now you could be getting approached by people from all over the planet. You could be getting approached from guys in Dubai, in Monaco, guys with yachts, jacked guys, rich guys, all of this kind of thing. And that's just the reality of the world that we now live in. I'm not saying it's a reason to despair, but I am saying you need to be aware of this and you need to factor it into your strategy in the dating marketplace. So the first thing I would say is that you absolutely need to understand the dynamics of attraction. You need to understand social dynamics and how it works when people come together, and how best to optimize those opportunities that you're going to get and you're going to create for yourself, and how best to ensure that things go your way. You definitely need to do that. You need to spend time studying that, and that's what I'm here for in terms of these videos and my email list and everything else. But the point I was making is that it's almost a bit like, whereas in the early 2000s and perhaps in the sort of maybe going back a bit further into the 90s, but let's say the early 2000s, it may have been sufficient just to know a little bit of this game type stuff. And it may have been sufficient just to know a little bit of this game stuff, and you could have been successful. What I was saying is that today, because there is this globalized competition, because it's not just you competing with the other chodes in the bar, it's now you competing with some of the highest value guys across the whole planet. You need something a little bit more than that. You need this kind of little extra special thing, if you like. You need that X factor, to coin a phrase. And all of this, guys, is what I go into in my forthcoming course, which is called the Charisma and Dating Academy. So the enrollment for that, and by the way, sorry, I don't want to make this a big advertorial. It's not. I try to get off the cheesy salesy stuff in a second, but just to let you know, the enrollment for that is going to be the 30th of April until the 4th of May. So there's going to be a 5-day enrollment period, 5 days only, limited availability in terms of space. There'll be more information on that coming soon. If you want to get more on that, go to my email list below, sign up for my daily email, and there'll be more information forthcoming on that soon. But the point is, the reason that I constructed that course was really to address this whole issue, and to address it in a really long and in-depth form, over 10 hours worth of video, of lecture material and video, because you need to be aware of this stuff, right? And so what I cover in there is yes game, is yes dating tactics, what you should say, how you should say it, when you should go in, use of touch, all of these kinds of things. But I'm also covering some other really key things, largely, right, charisma and mindset, okay? Because the study of charisma, right, is not something that's just relegated to this corner of the internet. It's a serious piece of scientific study, if you like. There are researchers at universities who are actually specializing in charisma to find out, can it be learned? Can it be taught? And spoiler, yes, absolutely, it can be. So, when you think about guys who are very, very successful in this market, what do they have in common? Well, people watching this are going to say, well, it's all about looks, money, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'm not going to deny that those things don't have an effect on your overall aggregate market value. But learning charisma is really important. Learning charisma is like the secret weapon that's really going to help you move to that next stage. Here's the other thing that I was saying in that previous video, right? So I have taught guys in London, and obviously on Skype as well, but in London doing face-to-face dating skills. So they'll, in a controlled environment, they'll go up to somebody that they find attractive, they'll have a conversation, and I'll be listening in, and I'll get a sense of what's going on. And I can tell you for nothing, right, that my observation from doing quite, a lot of these sessions is that even when guys, David says, how do you learn charisma? Well, you get my course, which is being released on the 30th of April. But no, you can do that, absolutely. I obviously recommend you do that, but charisma can be learned, and I've created some videos about it. I'll be creating more content on it. It's not the easiest thing to teach, but it can be taught, and that's really what I'm going to be doing a lot of on this channel moving forward, as well as in that course and in other stuff that I'll be putting out this year. Lost my train now, but basically, yeah, you need to master this charisma, because these guys who are going out and doing sort of approaches, who are doing like dating approaches or day game approaches as such, would walk up and they would know the game stuff. They would know what to say. They would know the theory, and could be very, very hot on those things. But the way they were coming across was just boring and staid, and it just sort of like, it just seemed a bit sort of like forced, And so what the problem that they've got is not that they don't know game, because you can learn dating in game in a couple of days if you just search the internet and find like loads of videos and articles. It's all out there, it can all be learned. The problem that these guys had is they didn't have that X factor. They weren't communicating enough for themselves, and so they were losing out on interactions that otherwise could have been quite promising. And that's what you need to get around, and that's what I talk about in the course, which is, as I say, opens on the 30th of April until the 4th of May for enrollment. I talk about charisma, how to build charisma. I talk about mindset, because mindset, right, is incredibly important in terms of becoming that attractive guy, becoming that guy who is sex worthy, to for want of a better term. Yeah, and I talk a lot about the bad boy thing as well, right? Because the bad boy thing, we all know that nice guys finish last. We all know that the bad guy tends to get the spoils, if you like. Well, okay, fine. We've seen the high school movies. We get the idea, but how do you actually bring about a bit of that bad boyness into your presentation, into your vibe? Is it even possible, if you're not naturally like a bad boy, to bring some of that stuff in? Well, yes, it is, but you need to understand the mechanics. You need to understand